Hey, what's going on guys, it's Tapali Athletics, and today we're going to be talking about how Steve Reeves' physique compares to modern bodybuilders. Although we're going to be comparing him to modern natural bodybuilders because I believe Steve Reeves was also natural, so I think this is just a fair comparison. Although the comparison still isn't actually fair in my opinion, let's just compare Steve Reeves to the most popular natural bodybuilder that I can think of, Alberto Nunez. Steve Reeves has really good proportions and muscle bellies and everything, but his leanness just is nowhere near his level. That's because modern bodybuilding it rewards leanness more than classical silver era bodybuilding. So Steve Reeves doesn't just rest and have that protruding six-pack, his legs don't have shreds all over them. Don't get me wrong, Steve Reeves was still pretty lean, but just not lean compared to the natural bodybuilders that we see today. That's why it's very difficult to even compare Steve Reeves to modern bodybuilders of today. I talked about this more in my modern bodybuilding versus ancient bodybuilding video. Ancient bodybuilding was more about the specific proportions and it wasn't about like super low body fat percentages. They weren't trying to see the distinction between each muscle fiber with each muscle belly. They just wanted to see how your proportions looked in your general muscle shape, whether that looked good or not. Back then, they cared a lot about the specific measurement of your arms, your thighs, your calves, and your neck. Nowadays, it doesn't really matter. It's more about how good the muscle looks. It's more about how good it looks to our eyes as opposed to the objective measurements of, 17-inch arms or whatever.
To get my point across, Austin Dunham said it in this Instagram post that his arms were 17 inches. Steve Reeves was recorded to have arms of 18.5 inches. You can have your opinion on which arms you think look better. I would personally say that Austin's look better. But even if you think Steve's looks better, I don't think you would think that Steve's arms are 1.5 inches bigger type better. You wouldn't expect an extra 1.5 inches.
So yeah, the specific arm measurements aren't of major concern to us. It's more accurately just how good they look. Bodybuilding is just a lot of illusions. But with that in mind, I think we should talk about other bodybuilders. Second bodybuilder I want to talk about here, we talked about Alberto Nunez already. Second person is Lex Little. I think this is an important comparison because Lex Little's legs are gigantic. His legs also have much more definition to them. So you can see the vastolateralis and the other muscles in there that I'm forgetting. You can see them very distinctly and very well with Lex Little. You see, back in the silver era and back even like the golden era, the legs weren't as much of a priority for people. So I just thought it would be very interesting and very relevant to compare him to someone who I believe is natural, Lex Little. He's been tested before. He's gone to powerlifting meets before. He's been tested. So yeah, his legs are just insane. After that, I want to compare him to Russell Orhii. And this is just to show off how massive natural bodybuilders can get, because I also believe he's natural. He's been tested a billion different times in powerlifting meets. There's more evidence that he's natural than any of you guys watching this video right now. But yeah, he's just a complete mass freak. There's some people with just ridiculous genetics to get huge. Russell may not have the same insertions and slim waist that Steve has, but in terms of raw muscle mass, it's much better. He gets much bigger. So it's almost really interesting to think about how far bodybuilding could be taken. Like if some people who are on drugs right now were natural, how big would they look compared to Steve Reeves? It's really interesting to think about. Which brings us to the next person, who is Bada Leakin. I believe that's his name. He's a natural bodybuilding world champion right now. He's a good example of how far natural bodybuilding can be pushed. Steve Reeves is great and everything, but if you compare him to Bada, he's getting kind of outclassed. Again, of course, this is just my opinion. And this makes sense, right? We have a lot more research and knowledge on the sport/art of bodybuilding. There's more people invested in natural bodybuilding now than there were, in bodybuilding generally speaking, now than there were back in whatever the golden age was. I think it was like the 60s or something. We also have better equipment now to train people. We have better nutrition now to feed people. So it just makes sense. So that's why, modern bodybuilders now, they can put on more muscle than they could back in the silver era. And the last person I want to compare him to is Vitruvian Physique. Vitruvian Physique is a natural bodybuilding competitor. I think everyone kind of agrees that he's natural, right? I think he has above average genetics. I think he has a good physique, but it's not like he's not a genetic freak or anything. He's not breaking the genetic code or anything like that. I would say a good percentage of the population could achieve what Vitruvian Physique has. So when you compare him, he's like the average natural bodybuilder competitor right now, compare him to Steve Reeves, you still see that Steve Reeves, I think anyways, has a physique advantage over Vitruvian. This tells me that if Steve were to compete now in natural bodybuilding, he still would do really good. Now, I don't think he would win against some of the titans we have today, but I do think that he would still do very good. He'd probably still get his pro card, and among other things, he still would do really good. And with that being said, that's going to be it for the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you all next time. Peace.